So in this week's Creative Confidence Catch Up, today I'm going to be chatting with Tom. So Tom, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Hi, yeah, thanks, Amy. Yeah, my name's Tom Edwards. I am a local visual artist. I live in Newcastle-under-Lyme, and I'm probably best known for the mural work that I do, sort of around the city and the wider sort of Midlands area. Yeah, you've probably seen some of my big artwork knocking around somewhere anyway.
No, it's so cool to have you on because obviously this sort of series of episodes, it's going to be more about like caregiving, be that parents, entrepreneurs, etc. And I just feel just to try get us like chatting for this
Yeah.
conversation, it's been pretty difficult, hasn't it? Due to just the demands of life and like if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, it's just sometimes really hard to kind of connect. But when we can, I think these sorts of conversations really matter.
No, absolutely. I think yeah, it is really difficult, and it's kind of a new thing for me that I've been navigating over the past few years. My eldest is 4 now,
Mhm.
and we've just started to be navigating the some 6-week holidays from
Oh,
school,
nice.
and things like that. So, and we've got baby. Well, our second is here. She's not a baby anymore. She's 16 months old, so she's a fully fledged toddler, and the dynamic really changes. Work life balance. It's going to take a little while before you get that equilibrium, really. So yeah, it is a difficult thing to balance in life. But yeah, it's great that you want to kind of touch on that, and it feels very appropriate. And yeah, it's taken us ages to get together. Glad we finally can sit down and have a chat.
No, it is cool. The first thing I kind of want to chat to you about today is, so obviously you talk about the mural work and things like that.
Mhm.
What's is this something that's kind of built your confidence, and is this something that you've always seen yourself doing?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I'll start with is it something I've always wanted to do? No, I very much fell into doing this. I've always been creative and arty. I studied illustration at uni. Didn't know where that was going to lead me.
Mm-hmm.
Worked various regular jobs for a while and did the odd like illustration commission. Drawing a tattoo for someone or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the mural art didn't come till much later. After me and a couple of friends from uni set up various businesses in
Mm-hmm.
different. We went through a very, very windy road to end up where I am now. But essentially, I used to be involved in the local graffiti scene. I used to do a little bit of, shall we say, clandestine painting when I was a bit younger, sort of university days. And that is kind of, helped facilitate other artists do murals, and working with other more established mural artists through sort of various business ventures, kind of saw the potential and saw the growth in that area and thought, I can do that. And it kind of combines my skills, and it's a new thing to learn, and it kind of really appeals to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's very creative, it's very hands-on, very it allows for that creative expression, but it's also got the kind of a bit of a technical side to it and a bit of a
Yeah.
more
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
engineering. You've got to you've got a bit of more of a logistical problem to try and tackle, which kind of also appeals to me a little bit. So yeah, I didn't see myself doing this, but have through the windy path that creativity takes us along, I've ended up doing it, and it's something I really love. So yeah, in terms of your second part of the question, has it helped build my confidence? It's a really interesting question, because I always say painting murals is a really weird thing to do, because quite often you are working in a public
Mm.
space.
Yeah.
People are watching you live producing the work. I'm not
All
shut
that
away at the
pressure.
studio. It's pressure, but at the same time, you get this constant feedback from people.
Mm.
Generally,
Mhm.
positive. It's very, very rare that you get, criticism whilst you're producing work. But you get this constant sort of reassurance whilst you're working. People saying, "Oh, that looks good," or "What, inquisitive? What are you doing?" And you explain the project, and they go, "Oh, that's great." And then I always think, if I was just a painter and decorator and I was painting a big wall white, nobody would even look up.
Yeah,
But the
can.
fact that I'm creating art on a wall
Yeah.
and it's turning people's head, which is, the intention of street art and mural art anyway, to kind of provoke a reaction. You're getting that reaction before it's even finished, and you're getting, and it feels really nice. You almost feel like you not become numb to it, but you get praised so much that it is a bit of a confidence boost. You do shut it out because it just becomes a bit repetitive. You get the usual tropes and the usual "you've missed a bit" jokes kind of thing. But yeah, you do get a real nice positive feedback from people, which yeah, I imagine it can only be a confidence boost really to hear that.
I suppose as well, obviously being a parent and things like that, actually having people say, "Oh, that's great," and whatever. I suppose when you start to go into that role, I suppose sometimes it because you're focusing so much on your children and like the family. Sometimes when people actually then give you the recognition, I bet it's actually quite nice.
Yeah, to be honest, it is not some, obviously we all take on projects that are more fun than others.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is it's almost not an escape, but it's a real change of pace sometimes. It's actually
Yeah.
more relaxing to be at work
Quite
sometimes. I know that
cathartic.
sounds horrible to say that, but obviously there's so much when I'm working from home, it can be really difficult to like focus and kind of get into the zone.
Hmm.
And if I'm out on site and I'm up a ladder with my headphones on, I'm just kind of in the zone. And
Right.
it's yeah, it is nice to get that feedback occasionally. But yeah, family life, it really changes the dynamic. It changes how you're not, your working day.
Hmm.
Look, I'm fortunate enough to be able to do work from home a lot of the time, which means can do school pickups and
That's
collections and
great. The
things like that.
flexibility. Yeah.
Really flexible, and it's great. And we get to spend more time with them, which ultimately that's the important thing. That's
Hmm.
that's especially when they're young. We can
Yeah,
spend that time
definitely.
with them. And my wife works from home most of the week as well, so it's great to have that flexibility. But yeah, you do feel like you do lose a little bit of yourself in parenthood. You just
Hmm.
become dad or mum.
Hmm.
That's your identity. And work is almost a social outlet now as well,
Hmm. Yeah.
because you don't get time to really socialize
Hmm.
anymore. I don't have and I'm sure most parents of young children will agree. Your social life kind of goes out the window, especially if you've not got a big support network. A big village, if you like, to help
Hmm.
raise the kids. So yeah, you kind of it's very much family life, work life. They are the two things really. Social life goes out of the window.
And it's trying to find like you've said previously, like that balance between everything. But
Mm-hmm.
so like in terms of like the people that who kind of support what you're doing, whether that be painting, these murals, etc. How are you inspiring that community, would you say?
So there's sometimes, not always, because sometimes what I paint is just a pretty picture, but quite often there is a narrative to the work.
Hmm.
And you've mentioned heritage.
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm really passionate about our pottery's heritage,
Hmm.
and I always try and weave a little bit of that into my work somewhere.
Hmm.
Typically, it's in the brief anyway. I always tend to go for jobs that have a little bit of a history or heritage element to
Hmm.
them. So yeah, there is that storytelling element that's in there, which might not be obvious, but it might be something a little bit more abstract. So that can help, make people ask questions. What's the significance of a certain aspect of the mural? So yeah, it's nice to be able to tell a bit of a story visually. People might not always know, and I mean, just generally having large scale artwork is something that you can't help but interact with it. Anyone walking down the street or walking past a mural, it kind of draws your attention, and you'll kind of look at it, whether your opinion's positive or
Hmm.
negative. You might not like it at all, but it generally provokes a reaction. And whereas a lot of other art, you don't, it's not as public. You have to kind of go out of your way to view an
But
exhibition or go
yeah,
into a
yeah.
gallery, or and
Uh-huh.
that's the thing with street art. It's there, and
It's
you're
out
viewing
there,
it.
yeah.
It's viewing it either way, and hopefully, yeah. I mean, I'd like to think that people see some of the paintings that I do and think, oh, that's cool. I want to do stuff like that. And whether that is just people viewing it and seeing the possibility, or people seeing me at work and thinking, oh my god, that guy can actually, his job is to just paint pictures bit on walls, cool.
That's so cool.
That could be my job. That inspires someone to pick up a spray can and have a go
That's it.
themselves. There wasn't much of that when I was growing up, locally anyway. It wasn't until I got a bit older and started seeing it in other cities. It's really had a big revolution in the past sort of 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
It's everywhere now, and everyone's kind of a lot more aware of it, and it's something that's been picked up by kind of big business, and it's used as advertising, and it's seen as a really good tool to promote various things. So yeah, I think it is. I think it can be very inspiring, and I try and work directly with a lot of young creatives anyway. A lot of projects require a community element, a community participation element,
Great.
so that I get to directly work with young creatives and show them a little bit of my process, and hopefully have them. The intention is always to have them influence the final piece.
Mm-hmm. I love a collaborative project.
Yeah, and try and get as much real collaborative, partnership in there as possible. You don't always. Sometimes it feels a little bit just like a token effort of the community elements, but
Mm-hmm.
to get that real collaboration, that real partnership, it always gives the work a bit more clout, I think.
Don't you find like it can like trigger sort of new ideas? So the way that somebody else would approach something, you think, oh, actually, I've not thought about it like that before, or that style, and then you kind of gravitate not to copy, but almost like it just fuses that to that other idea to kind of boost your own practice.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, a lot of these projects, you can always approach them with having a sort of a predetermined outcome, and you go into it thinking, oh, I'm going to steer the group that I'm working with to the outcome that I've already come up with in my head. But that's almost the wrong way of doing it sometimes. And yeah, if you get a great idea coming from the people that you're working with, absolutely, it can flip your initial thoughts on the head, and you think that's great. We can definitely work with that, and it lets you try new. I'm kind of slowly developing a bit of a style. That's something I've always struggled with. I'm always just very much flip-flopping what I do and how I do it to suit a brief, if you like.
Oh yeah.
So I'm always trying to weave a bit of my style into there. But yeah, if there's ideas that come up, absolutely, I'm always open to changing styles and approaches to suit the ideas, because the story's the most important thing, really.
So would you say then, do you have a favorite project to date, whether that be your own project or a community project?
Yeah, I've got a few really. I mean, one that I've done this year was kind of, I had free reign on it really. It was working with the Trent Rivers Trust on the River Trent path. So I've done three big kind of. There's kind of standalone pieces, but they're all in the same place. So you could treat it as one big mural. But it was basically, I like painting birds and wildlife and stuff at the moment. So that's kind of what I'm enjoying doing more than anything. I think I really, I can relax when I'm doing stuff like that. I'm not stressing, and I can just kind of enjoy the process. And they were great. They were just like, yeah, do what you want. We like your stuff. So I was able to just go, this, and for a client to just go, yeah, cool, get on with it. That's the dream, really. Yeah, that's the dream. Because you're forever backwards and forwards with clients and tweaking designs and things. So yeah, projects that you can just do your first draft gets resounding yes, please. They are the ideal projects. They are the ones that you are a dream to work on. Really, that was a great one this year. But then a previous project that I've really enjoyed, which is kind of got more of the storytelling and the heritage aspect was the one I did a couple of years ago now in Stoke on Glebe Street by Stoke Minster. I don't know if you know that
Oh,
wall.
yes. Is that on that big wall by the
Yeah, it's behind that weird sculpture.
That's it.
So
That's it.
the wall's really weird. You can't really see it, and it's really difficult to photograph, and it's kind of hidden and
It really is hidden, isn't it?
yeah, so it's a bit frustrating in that sense. But the actual content on there was really, it kind of came together, and it's got loads of different separate elements, and they kind of all blend together quite nicely on there. I was quite pleased with how much I'd managed to include in that one. So yeah, that was a nice one for me as well.
No, I love that. It's quite nice how there's like a mix, but like you said, it's always kind of going back to that heritage, that sort of, and that I suppose causes the storytelling, which then as a result gets people resonating, and then I suppose that builds a community in a way around it. Like obviously here in Stoke-on-Trent we have the people that live here, and they resonate with a lot of this because that's what their history is all about.
Yeah, and that project was, we actually reached out to the residents of Stoke, and all the content was about Stoke town specifically, Stoke-upon-Trent, I should say. So all the little elements in there were they came up from research that we'd done, or direct contributions from members of the public who we kind of engaged with and spoke with, and yeah, hopefully people do engage with that a little bit more and go, okay, they can pull out little bits of history that they may know, but also there might be bits in there that don't know what that means, because a lot of it is just visual representations of certain storytelling elements. So like one bit of feedback that we got was that how the significance of the wheat sheaf in Stoke as the venues, now Wetherspoons, but the significance of the wheat sheaf, and all the big name bands that did once play there. People talk about Oasis played there and Green played there, back before these bands were as big as they are. So it was, I think, the Police and all sorts of bands play there. But to represent that, it's really difficult to just paint a building. It's kind of doesn't really say anything. So we've kind of, that's just got the imagery of an actual wheat sheaf, a few fronds of wheat, if you like, in the mural. So it's kind of a little bit abstract and a little bit visual, but it is all kind of linking into different bits of feedback. So people might see something, not know the significance, and they can then go, it's actually, that particular mural's got a page on B Art's website that explains what the different elements are. So not all the murals have got that. A lot of the time it is a bit abstract and people kind of have to work it out for themselves. But if there is that extra tool there, sometimes, I've never done the whole QR code thing, but it'd be cool if there's ever something that's really abstract, you can have a QR code explaining.
And then it goes to something else.
Yeah, I've never done that, but yeah, it's something we've
there's something to think about.
Yeah. But that'd be cool.
I love that conversation. It's been great because obviously, like I said, we've been wanting to do this for a while, but we just haven't had the chance to get there. But my last question for you today is: do you have any words of encouragement or words of wisdom that you'd like to leave us off with today?
Words of encouragement for anyone who's maybe a struggling creative, or wants to get into the creative industries and sort of leave behind a sort of a 9-to-5 job. Just don't be too pressured to immediately find your niche or your groove or what it is that you do.
Totally get
that. I'm still trying to find what it is that I do. This is just, yes, I'm doing murals and I'm really enjoying murals. That might not be forever. It also might lead onto a style that I'm always obsessed with this, trying to find something that I am known for, or a style that I can really latch onto and enjoy doing. No doubt that if that ever happened, I'd just get bored of it immediately and just try and do something else. But you see artists out there that are instantly, their work is instantly recognizable
Yes.
as theirs, and they've carved this niche for themselves, and I'm a bit, on the one hand, I'm really envious that they've managed to find themselves, but on the other hand, I don't think you need to pressure that. It's, if you find it, great, but if you're a bit of just a wandering creative, a bit like I am, then that's fine too. Just look for opportunities and go for them, and don't feel the pressure to have this real polished kind of identity straight away. I think just you can make mistakes and you can do all sorts to get there.
And that's what you need to do, don't you, in order to
Yeah.
get there? And also, the more you pressure yourself to find your niche, the more you're probably going to gravitate towards the wrong direction and gravitating towards all these sort of trends just because everyone
Yeah.
else is. And then you still, I suppose, having to backtrack even more to find yourself even more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just try and enjoy what you do, and try and keep that enjoyment, and don't. I mean, we all do it. We all take on jobs that we're not really that interested in, because you've got to pay the bills at the end of the day. But yeah, just try and look for the work that you resonates with you a little bit, and that way you can't go too wrong that way.
That's real.
But yeah, ace.
No, thank you so much for joining us today, Tom. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you.